In this video, I'm going to do a quick run through of the settings and preferences window in Propellerhead Reason. My view on this is set it and forget it, at least if you set it up properly. This video is part of my quick tutorial series on Propellerhead Reason, so subscribe to get more videos like this. Alright, so before you jump into producing music in Reason, you should take a few minutes to set up the preferences and settings. Let's open up the preferences menu and I'll do a quick overview of the items in it. So there are 5 tabs in the preferences window. The first one is the most important, your general settings. Up on top is mouse knob range, which controls the sensitivity of the knobs in the Reason interface. I have it set to very precise because I want more control to do even minor adjustments if I need to. The automation cleanup setting reduces the number of automation points when you record or draw automation. Reduce cable clutter setting is for choosing how and if you want to see the cables on the back of the Reason rack. Show parameter value tooltip is if you hold your mouse pointer over a knob or button, the name and the current value of that parameter will be displayed. If a parameter is automated in the sequencer, this is indicated by a green frame around the parameter if this is checked. Then you can choose how Reason will start when launching the program, either an empty rack, a default template project of your choice, or the last project you worked on. The CPU usage limit setting allows you to set a limit on how much of your computer's CPU power should be used for Reason. I use 90% because I want to have some CPU power left for background programs, etc. Then you can choose a theme for the look of Reason here. I like the dark theme at the moment. When this is active, browse focus is automatically set to new devices when they are created. When this is activated and you create a new device, a default patch will be loaded. When this is selected, transposing notes by manually moving them with the selection tool will make the notes trigger so you will know when you found the right note. If your computer has multiple CPU cores, dual core or quad core for example, or multiple CPUs, Reason takes advantage of this to significantly enhance the performance when this box is checked. Hyperthreading is another CPU performance technique which can boost the computer performance when using Reason. When this is activated, any samples you load into Reason will automatically become self-contained and saved together with the project file when you save your song. Tab 2 is the audio settings for controlling your audio interface setup and monitoring, etc. Here you can adjust the global tuning in Reason, but if you don't know what you do, I recommend leaving it on the standard tuning, which is 440 Hz. Then you choose your audio interface here, as well as the sample rate and buffer size. The default CD quality sample rate is 44:100. Higher settings will demand more of your computer and audio interface. Buffer size is mainly important for controlling the delay, called latency, from when you, for example, hit a key on your MIDI keyboard until you hear that sound. I usually set it on 256 samples, which gives a decent low latency value. But if your computer strains and audio starts to crackle, you can try increasing this buffer size value. But be aware that it will be harder to record a performance with your MIDI keyboard if you have a higher latency. Recording latency compensation is normally handled by Reason automatically, so you rarely need to think about this, but know that it's there to manually adjust in milliseconds. If your audio interface supports it, you can check the active input and output channels of your interface here, meaning turning on or off individual channels. If you are using an ASIO driver for your audio interface, you can choose to synchronize to external sources with clock source. but I have always used internal clock anyway. Next you can choose how monitoring is set up. I usually have it on automatic, which means that any track that is selected will have audio monitoring turned on. Select manual to manually activate monitoring by clicking the monitor button on the track in the sequencer. And select external if you are monitoring through, for example, an external mixer. When play in background is activated, Reason will keep playing audio even if you switch focus to another application. The next tab is for adding your MIDI keyboards and control surfaces. I wish the auto-detect surfaces would work better, but sadly it rarely finds my devices. So what you do then is using this Add button here. I always simply choose Other. Then I choose what type of MIDI control I want to add. In most cases it's this one on top, meaning you both have keys and knobs and buttons on your MIDI keyboard. Write a name for it here and choose it in the MIDI input menu here. If your MIDI keyboard is not recognized by your computer, you will see this red exclamation button. In this case it is because my MIDI keyboard has a power supply and I have simply not turned it on. So when I turn it on, it lights up green. You can also choose which MIDI keyboard should be your master MIDI keyboard, the one you use to play your instruments with by default. If you have more MIDI keyboards, you can, if you want, use them to play only selected devices in Reason. Simply click on one of your MIDI keyboards in this list and choose Make Master Keyboard. In standard mode, the selected track automatically gets master keyboard input. This way you can just click anywhere on a track in your track list to select it for playing. In separated mode, you need to click directly on the device icon to the left in the track list to set master keyboard input. I always have this on standard personally. The next tab is for controlling MIDI sync. Basically, this tab is for advanced users who want to use external equipment and sync with Reason. To be honest, I have never touched any of these settings myself, so what you see here is the default. If you are interested in syncing Reason with external equipment, I recommend reading the manual and having a good amount of patience. The final tab is called Advanced, and here you can set up your piano keys for playing with your computer keyboard. You can choose to send error reports with this checkbox here, and the most important setting I have used is to locate your VST plugin folders so Reason will find your VST plugins. Simply click Add and locate the folders on your computer where you installed your VSTs. The final setting is the Scratch Disk folder, which is basically temporary data. I have never changed this personally, but I guess you might need to do it if you don't have enough space left on your main disk drive. You are invited to join my Facebook group for music composers and producers to connect, learn, and make new friends. Awesome! I'm Mike, giving you the quick tour of the settings and preferences in Reason, because you rock, my friends. My name is Mike, and I share my story and journey as a music composer and sound designer to inspire creative people like you. So click that subscribe button to gain music superpowers.